What's up guys, Asian here again with another Elsewhere PTS theory crafting video, and today we're going to be exploring in depth, or I should say exploring through parses, Lokkestiiz versus Advancing Yokeda as a front bar set. Specifically this is going to be on a Nightblade, obviously on different classes. This might end up being a little bit different, but Advancing Yokeda and Tooth of Lokkestiiz looks like they're going to be the two competitors for the best front bar sets on stamina DPS. So in this video I'll basically be really quickly going over the build itself, and then we'll talk about the countmetric parses, the pros and cons of each set, and basically what my general conclusion is right now. Now, of course, this is only the first week of the PTS, so Lokkestiiz might end up being changed depending on how ZOS feels it should be rebalanced. So do take this with a grain of salt, and if anything does end up changing throughout the PTS cycle, I will update this video and do a couple more parses to kind of re-examine which set is going to be better. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started here. So first, I just want to really quickly go over the build itself, what I'm replacing here and there, just so you guys can get a sense of what my testing procedures actually were. So first, I did do all these parses on the new trial dummy. Now, the new trial dummy is a little bit buggy right now, in the fact that we're not 100% certain which debuffs it has. It's stacking engulfing flames every time you kill it, but for stamina DPS in general, it doesn't seem to really affect our parses too much. So in that regard, it's good to go. So we're using the raid dummy just because it gives us the most consistent source of buffs and debuffs. Plus, because it has 21 million health, it does allow me to get a longer parse, and that'll help even out any sort of potential crit RNG and things like that. So it'll give me a little bit more consistent results compared to just doing them on a 6 million dummy. So the first gear. So I used Velodreths and Reliquins as my two sets here. Now you will notice that I am using a health enchant on the headpiece, and this is mainly because they did end up nerfing Artarium Takeaway Broth, the amount of max health and max stamina that we get here. I did try out blue food, but I found out that I could not sustain on the raid dummy, so I'm sure on a 6-man dummy I would be able to fully sustain the rotation. However, the goal was for me to be able to sustain on the raid dummy fully, so I ended up using Artarium Takeaway Broth rather than blue food, just because I was not able to fully sustain on the blue food. I was able to get around maybe 45 to 50% health, but at that point I ran out of stamina. So instead I just stuck with Artarium Takeaway Broth. I did end up having much more regen than I actually needed, so my as when we go over our countmetrics parts, you'll be able to see just how low my stamina actually dipped. I don't think I actually dipped below 50% stamina until I got into execute. So just bear that in mind here. If you are going to end up using Artarium Takeaway Broth, you will likely end up with a little bit too much regen, so kind of have to make that sort of trade-off there. But everything else, it's all divines, otherwise all max stamina enchants, also pretty much your cut and dry. Now, the front bar set is what we decided to swap out here. So I used either Advancing Yokeda or Tooth of Lokkestiiz. The Tooth of Lokkestiiz, for those of you guys who have not been really keeping up with the patch notes, is a new medium armor set that comes from the new trial and Elsewhere Sunspire. It comes in perfected version and an imperfect version. So right here we have the perfect version. So it adds weapon damage, minor slayer, weapon damage. The perfect version adds weapon crit on the 5-piece, and the 5-piece effect is when you activate a syringe, you gain major slayer for 15 seconds. So this naturally kind of raises the question, is Lokkestiiz going to be the next best in slot set? So this is another reason why I decided to use the raid dummy rather than the 6 million solo dummy parse. That's because the raid dummy will give me shards every 20 seconds, which is the bare minimum that you can expect to get in an actual raid environment. Obviously, in real trial, you might have some more synergies going out. You might have things like Blood Altar, Purify, Harvest, Conduits if you have Maxworks, and any sort of new Necromancer synergies. So it is more realistic that you'll be getting a higher uptime. So this raid parse, the raid dummy parse is going to be a little bit lower than what you would probably realistically expect in raid, but it is fairly representative overall. And so we just want to compare these two sets. So Advancing Yokeda has traditionally been the set that you want to pick up. So this is a heavy armor set that you need to get from Hellrot Citadel, so you will need to basically transmute the jewelry, which is a big drawback. But Lokkestiiz already comes in robust jewelry because it is a medium armor set. So you're able to pair this with Reliquin pretty decently well. Now you do want to have this on the front bar set, you don't want this on the body set, just because then you're moving Reliquin to the front bar, which is a little bit tricky because if you end up dropping Reliquin because you're on your back bar for too long, then you have to rebuild all your stacks up, so it's better to just keep Reliquin on the body and run either Lokkestiiz or Advancing Yokeda on the front bar here. Now, for jewelry, I had all Bloodthirsty and 3 weapon damage enchants. And then for our traits and enchants on our weapons, I had double daggers, both sharpen, poison damage, and absorb stamina. And then on our back bar, we had the Maelstrom bow infused with the weapon damage enchant here. Then for our character sheet, I was a dark elf just because I love my dark elves, and it's hard for me to play anything besides a dark elf here. All my points went into stamina here. I was using the Shadow Mundus, and I was a vampire. And again, Archemthic Broth here. And then for skills, you're pretty cut and dry Stam Nightblade build, so Killer's Blade, Surprise Attack, Rending Slashes, Relentless Focus, Rearming Trap, Flawless Stormbreaker, Razor Caltrops, Poison Injection, Endless Hail, Leeching Strikes, Rearming Trap again, and Incapacitating Strike. So again, pretty much your standard Stamina Nightblade build here. And then for your CP, again, very standard Stamina Nightblade build. So we had 75 into Mooncalf, 75 into Nasty, 40 into the rest. Blue CP, 61 Master at Arms, 42 Thaumaturge, 61 Precise Strikes, 32 Piercing, 64 Mighty, and then red CPs don't really matter because we're not really in a trial, but I did allocate all of my red CPs accordingly. Again, pretty standard Stamina Nightblade build. The only thing we were swapping out here was the front bar set. So again, we're looking at Advancing Yokeda, which gives us a lot of crit, so it gives us 2,000 additional crit chance, which is just shy of around, this is around, I believe, you divide it by 129, it ends up being just over 17% crit, I believe, from the 5-piece itself. So we're comparing that to Tooth of Lokkestiiz, which gives us Major Slayer. So the question is, which one was going to be better? So Tooth of Lokkestiiz gives us a little bit more weapon damage. The perfect version does give us a weapon crit. So compared to Advancing Yokeda, we gain 1 weapon damage, but we lose 1 weapon crit. Now, because we're running this with Reliquin, we are also losing that 3-piece as well. So we are losing that minor Slayer bonus, but because Perfected Lokkestiiz does give us an additional set bonus on the 5-piece, it ends up being a wash compared to Advancing Yokeda. So you still get 3 standard armor set bonuses. They're just a little bit different, and then the 5-piece is where it really differs. So it's a question of, is the basically almost 100% Major Slayer uptime if you have 2 synergies, is that going to outweigh the additional crit chance that you get from Advancing Yokeda? So again, we did dual raid dummy parses, so this is the new raid dummy here, which gives us pretty much all the debuffs and buffs in the game. So it applies things like Major Breach, Major Fracture, Minor Breach, Minor Fracture, Alkash, Crusher on itself, and it also gives you things like Major Force, Warhorn, Minor Berserk, and it also gives you a shard synergy every 20 seconds to get your resources back up. So it's a new dummy, so I ended up using this just because it did need a synergy in order to accurately compare Lokkestiiz to Advancing Yokeda. So here's the real meat and what you guys are most likely interested in. The 4 parses that I did. So I did 2 parses on each set. So these first 2 are from Tooth of Lokkestiiz, so 48.2k and 77.9k. You can round this up to about 78k. And in Advancing Yokeda, I had 64.5k and 75, or you can round this up to about 76k or so. So clearly you guys can see that, at least in this scenario, Tooth of Lokkestiiz is doing very, very well. You can see Major Slayer is not quite at the theoretical max of 75%. And that's just because sometimes I got the synergy on my back bar and I wanted to finish my back bar rotation before I went back to my front bar to activate the synergy to get that Major Slayer. So this could be a little bit higher. You can see here on the second parse that they get a little bit better uptime with 63%. Now again, in an actual raid, you might be getting 2 or 3 different synergies active, depending on what healers class you have, what tank classes you have, if you have a max organ group. So you could theoretically get 2 to 3 different synergies, and you could be able to boost this up a little bit more. The most important thing is to be disciplined and remember to activate it while you're on your front bar rather than on your back bar, because this is a front bar set. But obviously, the one thing you do want to keep in mind though is, if you are running Advancing Yokeda, what if somebody else is running War Machine and giving you Major Slayer instead? How does that factor into the equation here? So you have to keep in mind that Tooth of Lokkestiiz, you can get 100% Major Slayer uptime. So this is also not really representative of a raid parse, just because it does give you 100% Major Force, as you guys can see here, which is not really very realistic. But if you want to compare Major Slayer uptime, the most you can get from Major Slayer from a War Machine on a Nightblade is going to be about 50% if you're able to activate it pretty much on cooldown. Of course, you're not going to be activating incapacitating strike on cooldown all the time, so it's more realistic to get anywhere between 40 to 45% Major Slayer uptime. In that instance, you can see here that's the difference between 57 and 63 to 100 is around that 40 to 45%. A little bit lower here, it's 37%. So realistically, you would see about the same DPS gain running War Machine in a raid as you would running Tooth of Lokkestiiz in a raid. So just because the percentage difference between Major Slayer uptimes is about the same, you'll end up seeing about the same level of DPS increase. So it does seem like Tooth of Lokkestiiz, at least the perfect version, does end up beating out Advancing Yokeda. Now on the imperfect version, it remains to be seen whether or not that's going to end up winning out. The good thing is the perfect version, you don't have to do vet hard mode to get the drops, you just have to do it on vet. And from what I have personally done in Sunspire and what other people have said, it's about VMod difficulty, so it's actually not that difficult to farm the sets, because again, you don't have to do it on hard mode, you just need to do it on normal vet. So as long as you know the mechanics, the fights themselves actually aren't too difficult. You should be able to farm this set fairly easily. As long as if your group is able to clear VMall, you guys should be able to clear Vet Sunspire. Maybe a little bit more work, but overall you should be able to do so. So that's pretty much it for this video. Again, I will be keeping an eye on Tooth of Lokkestiiz to see whether or not it is adjusted throughout the PTS cycle, and if it is adjusted, obviously I will go ahead and revisit this this sort of scenario again. But right now it does seem like Tooth of Lokkestiiz, at the very least, their perfect version is going to be the stronger set compared to Advancing Yokeda. So for those of you guys who do play Stamina Nightblades or Stamina DPS in general, do keep an eye on Tooth of Lokkestiiz. It is definitely a set that you're going to want to pick up for your Stamina DPS. So that's it for this video. Hope you guys found this informative. Please leave any comments down in the comment section below if you guys have any questions or anything you want to add to this discussion. And I will see you guys in the next dungeon.